let's have a closer look at what AI is when we're talking about the workplace. It's a supportive tool, first and foremost. I'm not talking about something that takes over everything. I'm talking about a tool that helps us do our jobs better. It supports us by simplifying tasks for us. It has an incredibly great capacity for doing lots of calculations, doing lots of analysis that is way beyond what we could do. And as such, it can provide us with insights that we wouldn't be able to achieve so quickly, or for which we have no quantitative basis to trust them. Okay, it can extract this insight from large amounts of data. And as such, it can contribute to the decision process that we have. Okay, it's not that it has to take over the decision. Yes, if we are comfortable enough, take the face recognition on our phone and the bank to trust it, then yes, we may completely hand it over to the AI algorithms eventually. But in the beginning, it's a contribution to the decision-making process. So it may tell us how much it thinks the current news are predicting influences on the stock market, or whether what the likelihood is of a particular product that we have on our product line to be faulty or not. Now we can say if there is a certain threshold met, then please put it aside and inform a human to check it, or it may just simply tell us the probability is this high, the probability is this high, and we can have an engineer or something monitor the whole process and make the decisions based on other external information in combination, for example. So if every other test passed well, the engineer might just wish to ignore that and say there is not enough trust in the AI. But you may also say that, oh, I'm actually confident the AI has been right so many cases by now, we can go ahead and we put more trust into that particular aspect. So it contributes to that. What is important there is that we need to have suitable data. If we don't have the right data for the task at hand, we can't expect the AI to do well. And so that depends on every single problem and every single domain from a fresh point of view, right? Yes, there are ways in which we can take lessons learned from one domain and transfer them to another, but the data needs to be suitable to the problem you're trying to address. And finally, the need for the human supervision. It's again, the human is the one who has to be in charge of everything. How much do I let the AI be integrating its decisions automatically into the processes, or how much is it just a flag and I'm the decision taker? It's all down to human supervision still. Actually, let me just quickly comment on that small picture on the side. The way to think of it maybe also is the AI is a 3-year-old. It has a super brain. It's extremely quick at doing things with large amounts of data, but it doesn't know what it's doing with it. It's just answering to the task it's just learned. Put the building blocks on top of each other. Distinguish the elephant from the lion. Those are the things it can learn very quickly, but it's not yet at the stage or mature enough, let's put it that way, to move on to say, well, if I know that about the elephant and the lion, now maybe I learn something about other things. So it's not got that. That's why it needs the human to handhold it and guide it with the expertise. And then back to what AI is not. It's certainly not perfect. It will make mistakes. And so you need to always watch out for those things. It's not automation. And by that, I mean, it's not a hard-coded program where we have sort of enshrined our knowledge, and then it is deterministically working through that. Instead, it is something that is flexible, reacting to the data it has, to the data that may come in over the next months or year, and it will adapt to that. So it's not automation, but it can help. The AI is recognizing which of my emails is supposedly spam or not, and there is a simple routine that says if the AI has a high enough threshold that it has reached, it will end up in my spam folder. I don't need to do anything. So there is that automation coupled to it, okay? It's also not the solution to every problem. If you have a hammer, everything's a nail. Well, some tasks are just simply solved by a simple automation. Just write a code, maybe a bit more complex, but still it's just a simple code and everything works fine. You don't need an AI for that. Maybe you don't have the data at all. Well, then AI is definitely not the problem because you can't learn from anything specifically to solve your problem. And even when AI is possible, is it truly worth the investment of money and time for the gain of efficiency that we get at the end? Or are other simpler methods just as good and less costly? So it's not the solution to every problem. It's also not a magic wand. It can't solve every problem yet. So the researchers say, so there are things which are still way beyond the capacity of what AI can do. That said, if you list the problems that people would say that we can't do yet 5 years ago, and you look at what they can do now, the speed at which we're going is incredible. But we should also always keep in mind, not everything is doable yet. And then finally, the last point, without the data, it's just not feasible. So that's